So with Governor Ray making the decision to not run again, I was faced with returning to the State Department and an assignment. And I frankly hadn't been looking at any assignments. It was September. Almost all of the jobs had been filled, and the State Department personnel people, who were happy to get their hands back on me again and forced me to be adhere to their discipline and rules. And they said, you have to pick a job off this list of what's available. So I looked, and it was a pretty paltry list, but there was one job in Vienna, Austria. And I thought, well, you know, I've always talked about wanting to be assigned to Western Europe. I had found my way, found my place in Asia, but maybe, why not have an assignment? So I signed up for a position, and it was, I kind of looked at the Vienna part, and then after I signed up for it, I noticed it wasn't in the embassy, it was at the U.S. mission to the United Nations agencies in Vienna. And I had never heard of this. I didn't know there were any UN agencies in Vienna, and I certainly didn't know that there were any, there was a U.S. mission there. But it was going to be Vienna, and nice experience and interesting. So I packed up and left first. My wife would be taking a slower time packing up our two sons after Halloween and bringing them later, probably in November or early December. So I got to Vienna. I show up, the embassy is in this fancy old building that used to be the Austrian Diplomatic Training Center, 19th century, grand building. The U.S. mission to the UN agencies was in a new high-rise. It was on one floor of the Austrian Social Security Administration building. So it's filled with just Austrian civil servants. It's in a remote part of town. There's not much anything else around it. I show up there and come in, and I meet the man who I'm replacing. I'm going to be the counselor for refugees and narcotics affairs. And he says to me, I hope you realize that this is the worst job in the Foreign Service. It's the most obscure mission. It's the most obscure job at the most obscure mission in the entire U.S. diplomatic service. And he said, no one in Washington cares about this job or what happens here. And in fact, nobody in the mission really cares about it. There are other parts that deal with the Atomic Energy Agency. That's really important. That gets the attention of the ambassador, the permanent representative. There are other international development agencies that get attention from the deputy chief of mission and the other couple of political officers, but no one cares about what happens at the agencies that you will deal with. And they were the UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency, UNRWA, which runs all of the Palestinian refugee camps in the Middle East, Gaza, the West Bank, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. So this is where several million Palestinians, when they left what's now Israel in the late 1940s, when Israel was established and so many Jewish immigrants arrived, and Palestinians fled, were forced out, depends on who you talk to, and that I was going to deal with that. And then there were 3 narcotics agencies as well. And as he left and walked out the door, I'm sitting there saying, wow, talk about a wrong turn. This is really one. What have I done? I'm in the worst job in the Foreign Service, and things were going to go downhill from there.